At some point, the question, "Are you married yet?" stopped being a question, and it started feeling less like a question and more like a weight that made me feel like I was running out of time. In my 40s and even to my 50s, this was a real struggle for me. I was living my life. I love the Lord. And while I wasn't unhappy, that question was still there. And the longer it stayed there, the heavier it started to feel. And that's when I realized something. This wasn't just about marriage, it was about me being single for so long that on some level, I felt like I had disappointed myself. Like maybe I hadn't lived up to my potential because by this age, I thought this part of my life, um, it would have happened by now. It wasn't God putting pressure on me, it was me putting pressure on myself. Hey, sis, I'm Karen, and welcome to One Single Step. And this is a space where we walk out our singleness with purpose after the age of 40 plus with faith, joy, and a little bit of laughter, and a whole lot of Jesus. And today I want to talk about how being single when you're over 40 starts to quietly shape how you see yourself, even in the physical signs, right? Gray hair starts to show up. Proverbs 16:31 says, "Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life." So, y'all, I've got a whole collection of crowns, right? But the wrinkles, they show up too, right here. And you're like, what is happening? What is going on with this, right? I see women with beautiful silver hair. Y'all, yeah, mine's not as much silver as it is just gray, right? So, I ain't there yet, y'all. Just pray for me, y'all. But if I'm honest, all of that, the birthdays, the gray, the little changes in the mirror, the wrinkles you didn't have there the night before, right? It kind of adds pressure. And you start asking yourself, am I too old to get married? And that question right there, that's the one God had to deal with in me. Because the truth he showed me was this: God does not age people out of his plans. He never has. When I was putting that pressure on myself, it started to affect my peace because I was comparing timelines, lives, what God was doing in someone else's life versus what he wasn't doing in mine. But here's the thing: God has shown us throughout his word that he can use men and women at any age to carry out his ordained assignments. And as long as I have breath, he's going to use me. And I'm going to make sure that I'm obedient for him to use me. Amen. Because I had labeled myself with this self imposed expiration date. But Isaiah 60:22 says, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. So I had to remind myself that he has purpose and assignment in every season of my life and of yours. But there were moments when it felt like he wasn't hearing or responding to my prayers for marriage, that my age had begun to disqualify me, that doors had been closed or were closing, that maybe I had missed my moment. But the verse that changed how I saw the silence was Isaiah 64:8. We are all the clay and you are the potter. We are all the work of your hand. Because here's the thing: the potter doesn't walk away from the clay just because time is passing. He doesn't forget about it, he keeps shaping it. So the silence wasn't God stepping back. It was God still working in my life with intention, right? Shaping my character, strengthening my faith, clarifying my purpose. And yeah, sometimes that shaping, it was pressure, but it was where the growth was needed. And here's what I realized: God has never taken his hands off my life. And not all pressure is God ordained. And when that pressure is coming from me and not from God, it can push, or it did push me toward choices I would normally make, choices I started considering when I started to believe that my time had already passed. And that's where the thought of settling creeps in. Not all at once, but little by little. My standards started lowering, my boundaries started bending. And before I realized it, I'm compromising emotionally, physically, spiritually. And if you let it, that kind of pressure can crush you. But that's not how God works. The word says we are pressed, but not crushed. When God allows pressure, it's not to break us, it's to build us, it's to deepen our faith, it's to strengthen our character. It's for us to learn how to lean and depend only on Him, right? To prepare us so that when adversity comes, and y'all, it's gonna come, we're able to stand. And truthfully, there were moments where I felt ashamed in my singleness. Not all the time, not all the time, but sometimes. Um, and the best way I can kind of describe it is like, okay, so singleness is like riding a bike, right? When you first get on, you have this destination in mind. And for me, that destination was marriage, right? So, started pedaling from the beginning. It felt purposeful. I told myself, I just need to make it to this mile marker, 30, right? Get to mile marker 30, nothing happens. Get to mile marker 40. Okay, where my husband at? Don't see him. Okay. All right. So keep pedaling. Get to 50, right? Or for me, 260. And by then, you're tired. You're fatigued, a little bit confused, and honestly, discouraged because I had that picture in my mind, but I couldn't reach it. And the longer I stayed on the road, the more it felt like that finish line kept moving. And with every mile came the disappointment, the quiet frustration, the questions, and that's where the pressure came in. And, there's some other examples. It didn't just stay in my head. It would show up in like other ways. So picture this. Okay. You're in a room full of women, all ages, the questions asked. Okay. Someone says, raise your hand if you're married. So, hands go up, you know, quickly, right? Because, you've arrived, hands go up. And of course, it's going to be the left hand because the left hand has a big, juicy diamond on it, right? Then they say divorce, you hands go up, and then single. Now, the younger women, in their 20s and their 30s, they lift their hands up easily, right? Because there's still confidence there, right? There's still expectation, some visible possibilities. But then raise your hand if you're single over 40. I was like, okay, all right, cool. Raise your hand if you're single and over 50. Raise your hand, right? Raise your hand if you're single and over 60. You know, that's longer pause, right? Hands go up real slow. It ain't because of arthritis either. They just go up slow, right? And just when you think it's the end of it, raise your hand if you're single and you never been married. Y'all, girl, just it's like you're again, you're ashamed. You like, you're like, and you shouldn't even feel that way, but sometimes you do. So you're like, oh, okay. You're looking around, and in your eyes, all you see is judgment. Like, what's wrong with her? And that carries, like I said before, a little bit of weight, right? Not shame per se, but weight, a heaviness that comes from long prayers and long waits. Because when you're older, it does hit a little bit differently. But here's the thing, different does not mean defective, different does not mean denied. And most importantly, different does not mean forgotten. Because what sometimes feel like delayed to us is still being developed in God's hands, right? So I came to realize that my life is not behind. I am content. And I don't actually see myself as being old now. Now, don't get it twisted, y'all. Sometimes mama has a hard time getting out of bed in the morning, right? But Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. But I can say I am content again with this version of me, right? I'm wiser. I'm steadier. I am more confident. And more importantly, I have a deep relationship with Jesus, not because life was easy, but because it wasn't, right? And I saw his hand move in it, and I know it wasn't me. Amen. I don't see wasted years anymore. I see intentional and purposeful preparation. I see growth happening long before I even knew what he was building. I see God's fingerprints on chapters I didn't even understand at the time. So, no, I don't believe I'm too old. I believe I am exactly who God has been shaping me to be and continues to shape me to be. And I didn't miss my moment, and sis, neither have you. So if this spoke to you, don't walk this alone. Stay connected. Leave a comment and tell me what resonated. Share your story. I love to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe, like the video, which I truly hope you did. Um, yeah, and remember, we're just walking it out one single step at a time. Blessings.